We're joined by a very special guest. We've got many great guests on this program, but first up, G. Balachandran, Kamala Harris's uncle. Congratulations, sir. You must be over the moon right now. What a wonderful, wonderful day it is for you and your family. I believe you're going to be going to the United States for the inauguration. Is that right?
Oh, yes, definitely yes. I was there for her swearing in as a senator.
Yes.
I'll be in US for her swearing in as a vice president.
Have you had a chance to speak to Kamala so far?
No, I spoke to her 2 days ago, after about a year and a half. I mean, I decided not to speak to her on the phone till the elections were over, because these days the US political environment is so toxic that it will be misinterpreted as interference by foreign. So I waited till the election was over, and she called me day 4 yesterday in the morning around 5:36 Indian time, and we had a long chat about family matters. But I have not spoken to her since the last night's when CNN called her as the Biden-Harris team, because I said, look, she will be inundated with so many calls. The last thing she needs is from her uncle, who is going to say the obvious thing, that he is happy.
Yeah. Did you always see something, did you personally always see something special in her where she brought people together?
Not really. Look, I mean, look, I'm an uncle and she was quite young. So as a niece, you don't think she's going to be anything. I mean, you don't exceptional gifts you ascribe to them. But when she was running for district attorney, I happened to be in Oakland visiting my sister, and I went out with her a couple of her you might call it campaign. At that time, I was quite impressed by her capabilities to motivate people. She started as a very, very underdog in the race. And not only she started as an underdog, at that time, a San Francisco cop, I think, had been killed by somebody, and she said she, as a district attorney, she will get his conviction, but not ask for death penalty, because she didn't believe in that. And the San Francisco State Police Union said, in that case, we will not endorse you.
Right.
And believe that. I mean, at that time she was an underdog. She said, it doesn't matter, I won't do it. Fortunately, she won with a very slight margin.
Right.
But the thing is, the next time she ran, the same union endorsed her. What I'm trying to say is this: she has strong convictions, but not dogmatic.
All right. Strong
she likes
convictions.
to convince the other people why she believes.
Sure. Strong convictions, but not dogmatic. Wonderful to speak to you, Mr. Balachandran, and congratulations once again. She looks to be a great vice president about to take over, and who knows what the future there is for her. Thank you very much indeed. Joining us now, Cindy Sen. She's a reporter with the Voice of America. Cindy, what does it feel like to be an American woman today with a vice president to be, who's going to be a woman for the first time in the United States, half Indian, half West Indian, married to a Jewish man whose kids entered her life rather late in the day? It is wonderful, isn't it? I mean, what does it feel like for you personally to be an American woman today?
Well, I have to admit, seeing Vice President-elect Kamala Harris in her lovely white and cream pantsuit, which is the traditional color of the women's suffragette movement. If one thinks about it, it's only been about 100 years that women have even had the vote in this country. So I, like many others, was moved by, as you say, just the historic nature of this. And then to top it off, a quintessential American immigrant story, as she pointed out. And every time I've seen her speak about truly important occasions, she mentions her mother, and she mentions that she owes everything to her mother, and saying again that just how it feels and how her mother, she wishes that her mother could be here to see this day. And then President-elect Biden also really highlighted this moment and said, you know, she is the first woman, the first Black woman, the first woman of Indian heritage, the first woman from South Asia. There's just so many firsts here. And just to see on out in the streets and on social media, all these pictures of little girls watching. And then she said something about to all the little girls out there. And then I'm sure the little girls are saying, oh, she's talking to me. It's hard to underestimate the impact of that.
Absolutely incredible. And yet, we aren't done as yet in the United States, are we? With President Trump now tweeting that he's not happy. He says, he's quoted somebody who says that the elections were stolen. So what are you hearing about what his next steps might be?
Right. And I think we're all sort of asking ourselves the same question, not even sure if the president himself knows that. By all indications, it's a lovely day in Washington that he's most likely out headed to the golf course again. Right. I'm not sure who he will be talking to out there, but I'm watching very closely to see what other Republicans say and do at this moment. And there's only been a very few Republicans who have even congratulated President-elect Biden. We've had senior Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, himself also a presidential candidate and Republican nominee, who has congratulated Biden and said, you know, we need to move on. This is un-American not to count all the votes and respect the will of the people. We've had a few Republican governors, moderate governors like Larry Hogan of Maryland, to come out, but we have not had Republican Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, to come out and simply congratulate the projected winner. So this is a bit disappointing to some historians and constitutional scholars whom VOA has spoken with, because this just breaks with American traditions. You know, once the votes are counted, and certainly the news organizations were very, very careful this time. Yep. And waited with all these mail-in ballots, simply waited until they were counted. Right. And now it's time, many would say, to move on. But I see conflicting reports. I believe the Washington Post had reports that perhaps the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, may have been tasked with speaking to him about the possibility of at least acknowledging, with perhaps not a formal concession, but acknowledging that he will accept a peaceful transfer of power. But then the New York Times is saying that Kushner may in fact be encouraging him to keep up with these lawsuits. So what exactly is being said in the president's most inner circle, I have to admit, I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it's just not the United States. The entire world wants some sort of closure to these elections. What America does, the world watches so closely. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, Cindy. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Well, joining us, Ajay Jain Bhutoria, who is with the RP leadership and a National Finance Committee member. He was part of Biden for President 2020. Puneet Ahluwalia is a candidate for Lieutenant Governor. He is a Republican. He joins us from Virginia. Shekhar Narasimhan joins us as well. He's the chairman of the RP Victory Fund. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. Mr. Ahluwalia, let me come to you first. Is it time for President Trump to read the writing on the wall which says that he's lost the elections?
I think the law will guide that and let them decide and take its course. I think we want all the transparency which we as Americans should get, and we haven't gotten that yet. And I think once we get it, we'll be very clear to move the path, which is if it is to win or to lose, that so be it. But most importantly, as Cindy may not know, that there are going to be at least 3 to 4 lawsuits coming tomorrow. And there have been evidences and affidavits collected to present, the affidavits collected to be presented as evidence in the fraud that has happened. And it takes time. We have really credible sources, especially what happened in Virginia. I'm first-hand knowledge of that. So you will all see that, how it all translates in the coming few weeks.
All right. Shekhar Narasimhan, how would you respond to that? Because a lot of people say that statistically, fraud in American elections is, it's what, 0.0009%, a study said, of something which has happened in the past, and that there is no evidence to suggest that it's happened this time around. And yet you hear Republicans saying that, look, this does need to be investigated. How do you see that?
So, I mean, I think, let me make 2 points. Point number one is that this is a moment to celebrate American democracy. 154 million people going out to vote, or voting by mail, or using their franchise rights is an enormous affirmation, if you will, of the American democracy and the American voter. The second is, there is a process. If there is evidence, let them present it. I happen to come from the school that believes that you look at the numbers, you look at the data, you see what the facts are. This win was significantly bigger than the win that Donald Trump had 4 years ago. And I just want to point out that the adults in the room in the Democratic side told Hillary Clinton, be gracious, concede, let's get on with America's needs and the people's needs. I hope there are adults in the Republican Party that do the same at the appropriate time. But I am personally not spending any time thinking about what Donald Trump is going to do. I'm spending much more time thinking about what we should be doing to bring this country back together and to execute and solve the problems, huge problems facing us.
Mr. Bhutoria, is it a concern for you that in this time, as the Republicans get set to go to court, and it's quite clear that they will, at multiple levels with multiple cases, there is a problem of governance in the United States going forward? What Biden and what Kamala Harris have said, that look, we need to start work immediately. We need to deal with COVID. We need to perhaps get back into the Paris climate change talks. We need to do this, that, and the other. In the absence of that, right away, do you believe that there is an absence of governance at this stage?
No, not at all. As Shekhar said, that this is a time of celebration. The people of this country have clearly spoken, and they've given a clear victory and mandate to Biden and Harris. More than 74 million people have voted for Biden and Harris, which is the highest number of votes in the history of the nation. And Biden has a clear task ahead. He's already talked about the COVID task force, which is going to, a 12-member COVID task force to focus on managing the COVID crisis. And Biden is a president who will be a unifier, a healer, and who will bring the country together. Yesterday, he said that he does not see red states or blue states. He sees United States, and that's what Biden is going to bring the rest of the people who voted for Trump, to bring them, and they are all Americans, and we need to work together. Biden has a clear focus on working to restore the soul of America, to rebuild the economy, to restore the respect of United States leadership on the world stage, and there's a great things going to come. This is a beautiful morning today, and we feel the Americans are feeling very happy by electing Biden and Harris.
Right, Mr. Ahluwalia, and I mean, you see this across the country, so many celebrations, world leaders also acknowledging what they see to be the victory of Biden and Kamala Harris. It does appear at one level that that Trump is in denial. How united is the Republican Party at this stage?
Oh, we're very united, and we're celebrating too. We had 10 gains in the House. We flipped 3 state legislatures. We'll hold the Senate. President Trump got the most support and votes from the minority communities, Asian Americans, African Americans, Hispanic Americans. He's just kind of increased numbers, and more congresswomen have come into our party. In terms of diversity, we've expanded. So when Mr. Bhutoria said there is a mandate, I don't know which mandate he's looking at. I think President Trump got a mandate by sharing the kind of support he has gotten. And that's what kind of confuses us, is that when we didn't lose a single incumbent, and we've expanded our space in the Congress and will likely hold the Senate, and we also flipped 3 state legislatures. So there is a certain concern, where is that all coming from? And at the same time, where the process was not transparent, and now the Judge Alito has said that all the ballots, especially in Pennsylvania, that came in after November 3rd evening should not be counted and kept separately. But again, it was all done in a hush-hush manner. And I think what it is that the Democratic Party, unfortunately, with good people in there, are looking to seize the moment and win and claim victory till it's all done. And by the way, the elections have to be certified, and still there's a process to go.
No, I understand the process, but I just,
yes.
because I'm running short on time, I need to ask you, Mr. Ahluwalia, one final question. The central
Please.
premise of Donald Trump's argument going forward is that people would need to be disenfranchised in the sense that votes would be discounted. How do you seriously believe any court in America would ultimately accept this argument?
Well, if you provide credible evidence and it is supported and it can stand it on its two legs, any court and every court will look at that. And if there was rampant fraud, and as Republicans and proud, if we can't prove it, then we respect the smooth transition. We are a firm believer of democracy, and we revel in the next president and vice president. It's a great moment for Kamala Harris and the family, and I think all Indians should be proud for the great commitment the mother made to bring her up and create such a successful daughter. But more than that, I think we are big believers of rule of law, and let that play out. That's my only request. Have some patience, please.
All right, have some patience. Let there be rule of law.
Sure.
Mr. Narasimhan, you had something to say. 30 seconds, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we should absolutely have patience, but right now the record is 10 lawsuits filed by Donald Trump's campaign, 10 defeated. I think, yes, we should let the process play out, but we've also got to govern this country. We are facing the highest rate of COVID cases in the history of this pandemic here. So we've got to deal with the problems. If the current administration doesn't, we've got to take the mantle and deal with it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to govern. We're going to govern from the center, and we're going to bring everybody together. So I hope this is over.
That's the reason there was such a huge crowd, Narasimha, celebrating yesterday, and no COVID crisis yesterday when I saw on the television. Everybody kind of reveling together. Well, huge masses. I don't know where was.
People need to behave, and they need to
No,
be
but
better.
surely, Mr. Ahluwalia, you don't believe that people, large masses, is something that works against COVID. It's exactly what needs to be avoided during COVID times.
But again, when the word governance came and we have to fight COVID, but I saw huge celebrations and also people chanting to throw President Trump out. And I guess if he has lost, he still has till January 20th to be there. I think let's respect true governance and true transparency. That's
All
what
right.
I'm trying
Well,
to say.
let's see
and
what
the rule of law.
Let's see what the courts in the United States finally say. I'd like to thank all of you very much.
The daughter of immigrants who have been vilified for the last 4 years is going to be Vice President of the United States. I think it's a moment of
that
great
is what
pride.
it appears like, but there is a legal challenge ahead. I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us today, one way or the other. It's such an important election, not just for the United States, but for so many around the world. Time now for us to take this short break.